Hey everyone, and welcome back to Animal Notebook. Today we're bringing you a brand new explainer. Sheep, spirits of the soft plains. When we think of sheep, it's so easy to just picture a gentle, fluffy cloud dotting a green hillside, right? We've counted them to fall asleep, we wear their wool to stay warm, but how much do we actually know about them? Well, get ready because it turns out it's incredibly easy to underestimate the humble sheep. Beneath that soft, fluffy exterior, there are literally biological superpowers and intricate social lives that have let them thrive alongside us for thousands of years. They definitely aren't just pasture decorations. So here's our roadmap for today's deep dive. We're going to cover their biology and physical superpowers, their social lives and smart brains, the sheep life cycle, sheep and human history, and we'll wrap it all up with some frequently asked questions. All right, let's jump right into section 1. Biology and physical superpowers. Okay, so have you ever actually looked closely at a sheep's eyes? They look a little bit alien, don't they? They have these horizontal, rectangular pupils, and what that does is grant them close to 300-degree peripheral vision, which means they can spot a predator sneaking up on them from pretty much any angle without even turning their heads. No way, right? Also, if you look at their mouths, they actually don't have upper front teeth. Nope. Instead, they have this hard dental pad that presses against their lower incisors, which is basically the absolute perfect tool for ripping up grass. And of course, there's the wool. For most breeds, their wool just grows continuously. It never stops. It's a trait we've specifically bred into them over thousands of years. Now, let's talk about how they process all that grass, because their digestive system is wild. Sheep are ruminants. That means they have this incredibly complex, four-chambered stomach. It's like a biological factory designed to squeeze every single drop of nutrition out of really tough plant fibers. So food goes into the rumen and reticulum first, where bacteria start breaking it down. But, and here's the crazy part, they don't just chew it once. They actually regurgitate this partially digested food, which we call cud, and they re-chew it. Then it moves into the omasum to absorb water, and finally the abomasum, which is honestly a lot like our own human stomach. Chewing cud is literally a biological superpower for surviving in harsh environments. But here is the really surprising part. Despite this incredibly tough, rugged digestive system, they have a massive vulnerability. Diet danger. They are highly sensitive to copper toxicity. It's a real paradox. I mean, humans and cattle actually need copper, right? But the exact same mineral supplements you'd give a cow can literally be deadly to a sheep. They can digest coarse scrubland brush, but are incredibly fragile when it comes to just microscopic trace minerals. Moving right along to section 2, social lives and smart brains. To us, a flock of sheep might just look like a big sea of white fluff. But to a sheep, everyone in that flock is a distinct individual. Studies have actually proven that sheep have astonishingly smart brains and incredible memories. They can recognize and remember dozens of individual sheep faces. And not just sheep, human faces too. For years. If you've been kind to a sheep, or, maybe not so kind, they are going to remember you. It totally shatters that old myth that sheep are just mindless followers. And because they're so socially aware, their environment is absolutely crucial. Sheep are strongly gregarious animals. They are all about the flock. Inside that flock, they feel safe, secure, and their natural instincts kick in. It's safety in numbers. But if you isolate a sheep, it causes them severe, completely noticeable stress and fear. They are hardwired to be surrounded by their peers, communicating with these subtle bleats and body language that we are frankly only just beginning to fully understand. All right, on to section 3, the sheep life cycle. Let's look at how they actually grow. Let's trace this out. At 0 hours, like literally right at birth, that survival instinct kicks in instantly. A newborn lamb can usually stand up on its own 4 hooves and start nursing within just 1 to 2 hours of being born. That's incredibly fast. Then, by about 3 to 5 months, weaning begins and they start munching on solid plants. Flash forward to just 6 to 8 months, and the ewes, the females, reach sexual maturity. And assuming they get good care and manage to dodge predators, a typical lifespan for a sheep is a really solid 10 to 12 years, sometimes even longer. Which brings us perfectly to section 4, sheep and human history. Now, we really couldn't talk about sheep without talking about us, right? Because our histories are completely intertwined. Just to put things into perspective, there is a staggering estimated population of 1 billion domestic sheep on Earth today. 1 billion.
Our relationship with them goes back roughly 10,000 years to ancient Mesopotamia. They were one of the very first animals humans ever domesticated. They gave early civilizations a reliable source of wool, meat, milk, and hides. Honestly, without the sheep, human agriculture and probably human civilization as we know it would look vastly different.
And over those 10,000 years, through centuries of selective breeding, humans have developed over 200 distinct recognized breeds of sheep across the globe. You got the merino, which gives us that incredibly fine, soft wool, but then you also have these super hardy hair sheep breeds that don't even grow traditional wool at all. They were developed specifically for hot climates and meat production. So from the cheese and yogurt in our fridges to the literal clothes on our backs, sheep are this massive cornerstone of global agriculture. All right, we've covered a ton of ground, but let's jump into Section 5, our rapid-fire, frequently asked questions finale. Kicking off with FAQ 1, do sheep have a defense mechanism against predators? I mean, they seem so soft and peaceful, right? How do they actually survive against a wolf or a coyote? Well, the answer really lies in their numbers. Their primary defense is simply fleeing. But they don't just run away blindly. They run together as this dense, moving group, which totally confuses a predator. But hey, do not underestimate them. If a sheep gets cornered, or if you've got a mother ewe protecting her lamb, that flight instinct flips to fight. They will absolutely charge and deliver some serious, bone-crunching headbutts to defend themselves.
Okay, FAQ 2. Does a sheep's wool ever stop growing? We've all seen those viral pictures of a lost sheep looking like a giant puffball, but is that actually normal?
The short answer? Nope. In most domestic breeds, a sheep's fleece just never stops growing on its own. Because we selectively bred them over millennia to produce as much wool as possible, they kind of rely on us now. They absolutely require annual shearing. Otherwise, their coats get dangerously heavy, matted, and really unhygienic. It's a true symbiotic relationship. They give us the wool, and we give them a very necessary haircut.
Next up, FAQ 3. How do sheep choose a leader? When you see a massive flock moving like a single organism, who's actually calling the shots?
This is kind of fascinating. Leadership, when it comes to movement, is basically just instinct. They instinctively follow the first sheep to move. If one gets spooked and bolts, the rest just assume, hey, they must have seen a predator, and they follow. But when it comes to actual social dominance, especially around feeding time, it gets physical. They establish a pecking order through pushing, shoving, and definitely headbutting. So movement is instinct, but rank is earned. And our final question, FAQ 4. How do sheep graze differently than cattle? They're both just out there eating grass, so what's the big difference for a farmer? It all comes down to the lips. Like we talked about earlier, sheep have that specialized cleft lip. This lets them do what's called close grazing. They can act super picky, selecting exactly which tiny clovers or leaves they want, and they bite the plant off way, way closer to the root than a cow does. Now, this makes them amazing at clearing weeds, for sure. But it also means a farmer has to really manage the pasture carefully. Otherwise, the sheep can easily overgraze and damage the root systems. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Do we underestimate the deep intelligence of the animals that helped build human civilization? Think about it. From 300-degree vision and crazy specialized digestion to remembering human faces and having these rich social structures, the sheep is way more than just a walking sweater. They are complex, resilient survivors. Thank you so much for joining us on Animal Notebook today. I really hope this explainer sparked your curiosity, and I highly encourage you to keep exploring the amazing animal kingdom all around us. Catch you next time.